Dragon Ball Super just finished up another arc, and so time to talk about it with Vegito and Kazerneko. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I did that for you, Scott. I hope you appreciate it. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a few months. Already January, I think, was when we last recorded one of these Dragon Ball Super retrospective arc Kirblog type things. I'm joined once again by Mike. Say hello.
Hello.
And I'm joined for the first time in a while with this combination since like we did that initial, oh my god, Super's been announced as a thing to exist one with the three of us. Kazerneko, Scott, hi.
Hi, buddy.
Thank you for making time for this in the midst of 7 million things on your plate as per the fucking usual.
I'm going to Finland on Tuesday.
Oh boy, and you're also going to Japan
at the end of the month.
Oh,
yes.
Jesus. And then you're coming back to California for Anime Expo.
Yep, in between the two.
Jesus Christ almighty. Well, thank you seriously for doing this. I wanted to have the three of us particularly. One, because I hate Moscow. No, that's just kidding. I love you, Moscow, if you're hearing this. I wanted to talk about this one because this is one that I think all of us have a lot of different things to say about all of the new characters that are in this. What is, I guess, is it semi-officially being called the Champa arc? Is that more or less what Toei and everybody's been referring to it as?
Yeah, they called it the Hakaishin Champahin ahead of time and all throughout the entire story arc, which is the God of Destruction Champa arc. And despite Champa kind of being on the sidelines the whole time, not really being the focus, he didn't end up being the big bad of the arc, so to speak. That's still what they called it, so that's what we'll call it.
It is you do have to wonder what they would call it otherwise, because was there an official name for the tournament?
Just left my head. Oh, so yeah, we were updating about Extreme Butoden the other day, and they had the background stage for this tournament arc, and they called it something like the Tenka Uchu Budoka, whatever. It's like the number one in the universe tournament. Maybe you could call it that. I think if you start getting into the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 God of Destruction Invitational Tournament arc, that's which is kind of what they did to call it. That is the formal name for the tournament. That gets to be a bit much, so it's the Champa arc.
Yeah, I mean he's at the focus, and I guess I want to start off with talking about Champa and Vados. So it's crazy because now it's been basically a year since he was technically revealed. If I'm remembering right, the very first preview image announcing that Super was going to be a thing had a picture of just him and Vados just kind of tossed in there with all the other characters in their new outfits and everything.
Oh. Gosh, did it?
Yeah, it's been, dude. It's been okay. As of when the 4th of July weekend hits, it'll have been a year since Super started airing already, and I think it was around this time because around this time a year ago, F had already been out for a while, and that was already kind of starting to simmer down a little bit because the screenings had already been around everywhere. And then Super was announced not long after that, and yeah, I believe he and Vados were both in that first preview image. So we've known about Champa now for at least a full year.
Here, you want me to pull up some dates here because there is a certain website that does happen to have all this categorized.
Oh yeah, I hear there's one of those that does a pretty okay of keeping track of
the
shit,
Dragon Ball Super announcement was April 28th, 2015, and then the official website for it launched in May 19th, 2015, but we didn't quite get any of that imagery there just yet. And I'm clicking through. I'm still talking as I'm clicking through because I'm trying to figure out when exactly. It was like in June.
Okay,
so it was a year ago.
Yes. So thank you for further validating my point, Michael. You're so helpful in that way. It was. I mean, I even still remember seeing it on the front page of the site, and I was like, "Holy shit! What is happening? We're getting a new show. What is my life?" Yeah, and I guess we didn't really know what to expect, but it was funny because I think even in that first commercial too, they had scenes from episodes way later where Champa would have shown up.
Well, the thing is, that specific animation was never used. That ended up being animation that they seemed to create specifically for that preview trailer. As we got the longer length version, we did get some scenes from a couple later episodes, like 2 and 3, maybe even 4. But that scene of Champa and Beerus talking there, that was never in the series proper.
In fact, actually, you're right. And now that I'm thinking about it, it even looked a little bit similar to the differences in that, how they meet up again in the manga adaptation of Super. which maybe that was the plan. And then by the time they got up to actually like doing those episodes in production, they were like, no, we're changing things a little bit. So fuck it, whatever.
I mean, we talked about all the production issues and who knows when they changed what their plans were. And we saw Toyotaro's manga introduce them way earlier. Maybe that was the original plan. Who knows?
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I think in retrospect, it's probably pretty clear that the reason they might have had that bit in there is because, hey, we don't necessarily want everybody to know right away that it's going to be adaptations of the last two movies that we just did. We want to show something completely new, so let's preview this new character and get people interested. And well, they did. So mission accomplished, guys. But onto currents, or I guess more semi-current events. That is, because that was a year ago. Let's talk about Champa himself and his real introduction. Scott, I wanted to start with you because he is in fact a cat, and you are of course the Kaiser of all Nekos. And I'm not sorry for that pun. Tell me, what do you think of Champa as a character? I'm curious.
It's kind of difficult to really pin down Champa as a character in terms of like, how do I put this? We had a character such as Beerus who was very different from the rest of the Dragon Ball universe in terms of antagonist or villain. He was incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, stronger than anyone else in the show, with the exception of Whis. But he was also very, he was more casual, more laid back. He was not necessarily evil. Then you get Champa, who, how do I put this? He's bratty. He's selfish. He's greedy. But it's still hard to define him as flat out evil. And not in the traditional Dragon Ball sense. I mean, he's certainly not a good guy. He's underhanded. He cheats. But he feels more like an all-powerful version of Pilaf to a certain extent.
Oh, yeah, that's a great comparison.
Without some of the more, juvenile humor that, predicated Pilaf's arc. Mm-hmm. And that is not an insult, by the way. Yeah, Champa was very, like, the moment we saw him, a lot of questions arose. Is he the more evil version of Beerus? I don't think anyone saw him and thought he was going to be any more serious, though. And let's not forget his original nickname, Diabeerus.
Right.
Which, to this day, is still hard for me not to call him. I love the name Champa. I think the name is fantastic. Champa and Vados was so creative.
Yeah, it was very clever, kind of unexpected. I think everybody was expecting, like vodka or, like, something kind of more generic.
Yeah, vodka
like that,
definitely seemed to be the expected name for that character.
Mine was Keela. But, that's because I just love the idea for being named after tequila.
Tequila would be another great name if we're going to get any more. We'll get to world building at some point. But
for sure. Yeah,
I think there's so many other regions of the world that you can pull alcohol from.
Yeah, I mean, we if the remaining gods of destruction for all of the other universes and shit are all alcohol themed, then yeah, I mean, well, I'll expect the rest of those at some point.
I hope they are. Yeah. I love. If there's one thing that I adore about Dragon Ball is its naming conventions,
and it's such a like basic element of it, but yeah, for some reason they're just so like endearing. Yeah, it's something about that.
But yeah, Champa as a character, personally, not incredibly overwhelmed by him. But to see a more bratty version of Beerus is entertaining in its own right, and to see Vados just consistently have to like save his ass is also just, considering how Whis is so subservient to Beerus, even though we all know he's stronger, to see Vados be like, you idiot.
Okay, sweetie, that don't worry, I'll take care of it.
I love their dynamic is great, and
I love how she kind of insults him to his face, but because he's too stupid to get it, it doesn't, like, it flies over his head at the time. That's great.
Where Whis is actually has to be more subtle about it, Vados is just kind of like, oh yeah, you really screwed the dog on that one, didn't you?
My favorite was like his art interests aren't refined enough to understand what we could have done, so I kept it simple to make him happy. Like, oh please, that's amazing.
Shut up. Mike, how about you on Champa and Vados?
Yeah, Scott, you used the word bratty. I got another B word for you, and that's brash. He's just so noisy and obnoxious about everything.
Absolutely.
Beerus, I feel like you can almost compare to Frieza in a few ways, where he's very calm and collected, but he can lose his cool a little bit, whereas Frieza kind of just keeps going. Beerus almost pulls it back around again to being overly dark and serious. Once he gets pushed past that point of being angry, Champa just keeps getting louder and louder and louder and more noisy and just so high pitched. I love it.
Well, his actor is, was it Mitsuo Iwata?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, Kintaro Oe from Golden Boy. The moment I heard that, I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's great!"
He's so funny, yeah, so full of range and shit. I'm actually very curious on the opposite side later, because I mean, obviously we're gonna get the dub eventually, but I'm very curious how they're gonna handle his dub voice, because like when I first heard Champa in that opening scene where he and Vados are looking for the Super Dragon Ball,
Yeah, he was dark and gravelly there.
yeah, and actually he almost in like a little sort of sounded almost like a Japanese version of like the way that Sabbath performs Vegeta with that sort of like kind of rasping, and I'm like, how is he gonna sound? And then like as he, you know, as we really get to know him as a further character, like alongside Beerus and Whis and like their kind of whole that quartet's dynamic. And he was so rangeful and ridiculous and over the top all the time. Like he was so fucking entertaining. And yeah, that's going to be a performance that'll be hard to top, I think, for sure.
Yeah, Mitsuo Iwata has been around for a
long time. Yeah, it was great to have him in there. I thought Champa was a perfect complement to Beerus. You can see the sibling relationship between the two of them. They really are two sides of the same coin, and it's great to have them side by side here.
Yeah, without jumping, putting the cart before the horse. What happens at the end is really, I loved that.
Yeah.
The kind of full circle of the arc, you mean?
Yeah.
We'll get to that for sure. I want to go over the Universe 6 characters first, but
yes.
On the case of them, it's funny because I guess for an arc that technically doesn't have them as like the spotlight, because it is more about the Universe 7 versus Universe 6 tournament, the team characters.
Well, Chris, hold on a second. So before we start getting into the characters themselves, Chris, I know you kind of want to go down the line of those new characters. You just started talking about, it's a tournament arc. My question for you guys, so when we went into this, we kind of had this expectation that it was going to be almost like this introductory world building where we're going to learn about some of these other characters. We got those early teases from Kaba about what his world is like. And it really seemed to be like, all right, we're going to introduce them and then we're going to go full force into it. We're going to learn more about Universe 6. Maybe Vegeta will visit with them over there. That's not what we got. What we got was pretty much a standard tournament like all the other tournaments we got in the series, where it's a one-off batch of episodes and we learn a little bit about the characters, but it's really not about those new characters. It's about learning about our Universe 7 characters. And as we see where we're going now, it's all pulling right back to the stuff that we already know. It seems like Universe 6 and the rest of the universes, they're on the sidelines. So I guess or at least for now. So I guess my question for you is, was that the right decision to make, to kind of sideline that extra world building and pull it back? Or does that just make sense compared to what we've had with 21st, 22nd, and 23rd Budokai in particular?
You make a very, like, one of the biggest issues, if I could call it that, one of the sticking points about the entire arc was the fact that they didn't really go in depth into each one of the characters. We got a little bit about them.
Yeah, like what makes them tick, who are they, where are they from, and all right, next.
We were essentially given a summary, a synopsis of each character, and to that end, it is very much like the old tournament arcs. And whether or not that's good or bad, I personally feel depends on how they move forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Because while I absolutely would have loved to have seen Sadala, I would have loved to have seen more about, the back end business dealings of Frost, and God knows poor Botamo just shows up and like, all these characters are fascinating, and one character out of all of them I feel like got the most development, and we'll get into him. As much as I would have loved to have seen more of their backgrounds, we got teased a little something at the end, which, if God willing, if they move forward with that little drop, then I want that. I would be so disappointed if we didn't get a little bit more of the backgrounds and history of, like, Universe 6. Mm-hmm. Some leading up to that tournament, if we just visit Universe 6 and see some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a distinct feeling. Oh, you know what? I should say, by the way, because we didn't even mention this at the beginning, just to set the timetables a little bit. So we're recording this on Saturday morning, June 11th. So this is before the first episode of the new big Trunks arc. So we are, in essence, time traveling. I know I always say that, but like, it couldn't be more fitting right now. But we'll be. So we haven't seen the first episode of that new arc yet, because I wanted to mainly focus on this specific arc before we move into that. But
I'm calling it the blue haired Trunks arc.
That's the Saga name officially on the Z store. Yeah, so I think that the amount of hints and little bits and things about that they dropped, it seems like they are setting up for eventually, and especially with, another, certain arc that we might be getting, most likely after the Trunk stuff is over, might very well involve maybe even having to go to Universe 6 for, if they have some kind of plot sensitive reason for doing that. Because I think in a way, I think that we did get, I guess enough like necessary for the world building stuff to see from each of these characters, like the ones that mattered in the long run, for beyond just the tournament itself, and using it just as kind of like a point of development for the characters and kind of like exploring different, things with each of them. I think that in and of itself was totally fine. It definitely was not what I was expecting, which in that kind of way, I like that it wasn't what I was expecting. And it delivered in terms of it had kind of a cool sort of, mix of really what was cool about the tournament arcs in both Dragon Ball and in Dragon Ball Z in different ways. I just a real quick, I also want to just wrap up on the bit about Champa and Vados is, they were thoroughly entertaining to me, and like the point I was getting to is, despite him not technically being the focus of the arc, he was a big highlight just because of like how much he was making me laugh, and like his and Vados's dynamic with Beerus and Whis as well. But I guess kind of moving into the next part of it, because I want to kind of put Botamo and Magetta into kind of the same umbrella. So these two guys, Botamo had an episode. Magetta had, I think, like 3 technically. In his fight against Vegeta. And these two characters, although they were like kind of simplistic and whatever, like especially compared to the other 3 Universe 6 characters, their battles reminded me a lot, especially of the fights from Dragon Ball.
Oh, absolutely.
Where basically it was like, okay, Goku and or, any of like the Turtle Hermit school students, there's a gimmick to this enemy, and you have to figure out the trick to overcoming their gimmick and beat them in the battle, and then you win and progress onward. That was very much to me what Botamo and Magetta were. And we didn't really get much of that in any of the later tournaments, because it was just kind of straight up serious fights mostly.
Or it was characters that we already knew, like when Tao Pai Pai comes back, like you already know everything about him the instant he shows up. And then it's, kind of the rest of the heroes and Piccolo, like we know who everyone is. So yeah, to have new characters in here, Botamo reminded me so much. It was like the Beyond fight during, was that right?
Oh, the Muscle Tower.
Yeah, Red Ribbon stuff. I mean, right. It was kind of a similar shtick too. Like, well, everything bounces off. How do we deal with it? So Goku is forced to think literally outside the box, the ring here. How do I deal with this? So I thought that was nice. And we got a little bit of tactical thinking there, but then I feel like the tactical thinking went out the window for a little bit, and then we're supposed to buy it again when Goku has to deal with it later on. It's like, I don't know. We were kind of in and out on the intelligence factor there, but the entertainment factor of all those fights kind of made up for it for me.
Yeah, I mean, Botamo's fight, I think, was probably like the overall weakest of most of them.
Which is fine. We need one of those.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, when you're leading in with the tournament, it's ill-informed to lead with your best foot forward because it sets a really difficult precedence moving on. Of course, we did get a little bit of tactic from Goku, and I really appreciated that both in the manga and in the anime. Which, by the way, I guess there are comparisons to be made of the manga to the anime as we move forward. Sure. And like, I don't want to make that too much of a sticking point, but the manga, I loved that fight. The anime, a little more underwhelmed. I felt like the manga had a little more fun with it.
Also, not a great animation day for that episode. To be honest.
No. Yeah.
What was the joke about? I forget one.
Oh yeah, no. It looks like they're using the Ripple tool from Premiere. I've used that like. But anyway, the point being, Botamo's fight, I could appreciate it for what it was, but the other fights, I don't know. I felt like there was a decent mixture of strategy to outright just power versus power.
Yeah, the Magetta fight was definitely strategy. The Frost stuff was also strategy, sort of, kind of. That was the thing I was talking about earlier, where Goku was really smart about the Botama fight, and how he wasn't smart during the Frost fight kind of irritated me, but then Vegeta made up for it. And then the Kaba stuff, there was no strategy involved there. Like, that fight was over before anyone entered the ring. But I think that's what made it so exciting to watch, and then we'll get to the hit stuff later on. So
I can't wait to talk about Kaba.
all right, we'll get there. And Magetta, I actually really enjoyed that stuff because of I feel like he actually got kind of the most character development, where he was insulted and he took it really personally. Like, you really felt for that robot there, and that no, he's not a robot, he's a metal man. There's a very distinct difference. He's an organic life form. I really enjoyed how every time someone had like an objection there was a good reason for him to be there.
Yeah, it was so funny because I mean, like, I don't know, maybe call me a simpleton, but like immediately, like when that fight was over and suddenly he was all like upset and crying.
He's so dejected.
Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, it's cute. Like,
I
I don't know.
Hug.
I have a huge affinity for. I mean, I love robot characters, and Toriyama's
Toriyama robots are the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because even like the Chrono Trigger fans and us is like, oh, he looks kind of like Robo.
I know.
From Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah, no, that was the first. There was Winnie the Pooh.
Yep.
There was Robo from Chrono Trigger.
Robo, not Tarble, not Frieza, and not Cell.
Yeah, more or less. And like, yeah, and also like just the specifically the Magetta fight, like a lot more than the Botama fight. With like, Champa kind of being sneaky with, the sort of cube version of the force field around the ring and everything. And like, an actual kind of like different sort of weak point for Vegeta in that way.
Yeah.
It was just very different. So, okay, like I feel like maybe like Dragon Ball GT had a couple like kind of gimmicky sort of fights like that, but it was still kind of pretty unique. And yeah, it just like kept you guessing. Like, it was kind of a cool, like, and also like the fact that it lasted a little bit longer than you expected, because I was kind of thinking Magetta was going to be like just the one and done episode like Botamo, and then they were going to jump right into Hit after that. But no, it was actually like a lot more entertaining than I thought. And I don't know if Magetta is going to be one of those characters that we'll get to see again a little bit more in depth later. I feel like they're probably
not.
favoring,
Yeah,
they're favoring like the more humanistic looking, prettier characters.
It's going to be Kaba and Hit, if anyone, that we learn more about.
Yeah,
I feel like they told us so much about Magetta. That's why we won't see any more from him. But
he was a fun little side venture. Like, I have a soft spot for him. Like, in the midst of all.
I enjoyed him. I enjoyed the fight as well. I thought it was different, but I also thought that was kind of the start of, we're changing the rules. No, we're not changing the rules. We're fighting about the rules. We're changing the rules. Well, the rules don't matter. Our guys, stop. I just like enough.
Just let me punch something, for Christ's sake. All right, let's talk about Mr. Frost, which there was, I mean, so much discussion about, like, even just from that one image of him when the obviously the manga chapter of revealing who the Universe 6 characters was ahead of time.
Yeah.
And there was probably the most amount of talk about Frost and Kaba kind of in tandem. Actually, first of all, real quick, before we get into that, because I feel like maybe one of you guys might know this, if not yourselves, maybe by proxy from someone who is more fluent to the language. So Frost is played by Ryusei Nakao,
right,
who has now been Frieza, Kula, and Lord Chilled as well.
He was also Kuriza in Heroes.
Yes. So is there, if you know, is there any distinct way of speaking that Frost has, or any kind of like particular way of performing that Ryusei Nakao does on Frost compared to Frieza and the other members of like his family, as it were?
Kula is definitely a little different. I actually got to ask him that question at Animazement in 2013.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you've met him before.
Oh my God, Nakao is just the chillest. Sorry, he's the. I actually didn't mean it when I said it. As soon as I said it, like, what am I doing?
Own it.
I got to commit to it if I'm gonna do it. He was the most badass dude on the planet. He understands way more English than he lets on too.
Wow.
Yeah, he says he plays Kula just more direct. He's not really flowery with it. It's just kind of like standard speaking.
Yeah, that was something I actually picked up on when I was rewatching the movie in Japanese for when we were doing the abridged version.
Yeah.
I rewatched and I'm like, oh man, while Frieza has this eloquent, flowery speech, and I love Ryusei Nakao's voice, his cooler is much more like upfront and a little deeper, and it's like
he's just real direct with how he talks there.
Yeah, and it's kind of intimidating like that. It made Cooler like this. Well,
Scott, the fact that you're saying Cooler is killing me. It's through my heart here.
I'm sorry.
Cooler and Freezer.
Cooler and Freezer. There we go.
Well, obviously, like Frost is very like when he first speaks. Like he like immediately you like him. It's like, whoa, this is surreal. It's like if Frieza were like this friendly, like outgoing, nice kind of guy.
Yeah. So the way he talks at the start is almost the way that Trunks speaks, where it's very polite and formal, and not backhanded the way that Frieza talks, where you can tell he's kind of like dancing around his words. Frost is being direct, but he's being really polite about it. And then as we learn more about him, he just starts slipping into just straight up Frieza.
With the semi foul language and being insulting and everything. It's funny too because I'm flashing back to like one of the very first podcast episodes where you guys were talking about the difference in speech styles with all the characters and everything. And like I think Julian, who's Kanzenshu's like kind of longtime translation man, he was talking about how there were similarities but distinct differences between Trunks and Frieza.
Yeah.
And I wonder about if Frost in the beginning of his appearance is a little bit more like Trunks, funnily enough. Sorry, carry on, Scott. You were saying?
I am somebody who is by and large a fan of, casting along the lines of similar characters that are homages to other characters or, like descendants of other characters. But this was actually one of those times where I was actually sort of not enjoying the fact that they used Ryusei Nakao. Largely because I was like, okay, so you've given it, like, Ryusei Nakao's Frieza voice is slimy, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah.
And when we were introduced to him, I'm like, I'm getting a lot of dissonance with this. I like the moment I heard it, all I could think was, they're just trying to keep that Frieza feel, and I don't feel like that was necessarily what they should have done. Even with the way that he was talking to them, there was just a part of me, like, as somebody who even understands Japanese, I'm like, I get what they're going for, but my personal opinion was they maybe should have gone with someone else.
Well, who do you go with though? Because
then you do have that problem.
Well, it's interesting because so I won't pretend I know how the Japanese voiceover industry works. My assumption is it might have just been as simple as, you know what, we like Nakao a lot, we love working with him, we love having him, in the ensemble together. Let's just go with him for this. I do understand the complete. I talked a lot about that, like when the episodes were airing, Scott. And from a creative side, I do understand the frustration with that because, like, on the other hand, it's like, it would have been cool if he was differentiated by having his own distinct actor and everything. I guess at the same time, with the show like Dragon Ball, I think the reason that I accept it is because it is one of those shows, much like how a lot of American cartoon shows work, where they have, a lot of people playing multiple characters within the same universe. I mean, even recently, I was just finishing watching through Young Justice, and they make very clever use of having a lot of especially like the veteran voice actors playing like up to 3, sometimes even 4 different characters in the same episode.
And how they very cleverly use Nolan North for both Superboy and Superman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but yeah, and that's the thing. That's exactly what I mean is I think that might have been the same sort of mentality of like, okay, well, if he's supposed to kind of be like the Frieza equivalent, individual of this universe, and, we want to have the impact of, okay, it's what if Frieza was a good guy, even though obviously that didn't turn out to be the case.
Which is another thing to touch on. But
I just want to wrap up on the voice there. I think the comparison to American cartoons and how you'll have a voice actor playing multiple roles, I think that doesn't apply here with these particular performers. Nakao is above and beyond anything like that. And where you'll have really talented folks over here like Billy West who can do multiple roles and do it in completely distinct voices. Some of the folks over there can do that. Specifically, Koichi Yamadera, the man of a billion voices.
Oh, yeah.
So he's one of the few that you can do something like that with. Nakao, his voice, especially with regard to this franchise, is that character. And I think having him do any other role, funny thing is we got him as Tambourine before we ever got him as anything related to Frieza. And I think it's tough going back to Tambourine being like, no, you're just Frieza. What are you doing here?
You're primordial Frieza.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in many ways. I mean, Nakao has killed Kudiden multiple times here as different characters. But I don't know where I'm going with this, but pretty much I think
I get what you mean.
This character, you kind of have to. There's not much else you can do. And I think where it really breaks down is he's evil. No, he's not evil. He's nice. Wait, no, he's actually evil. And I think the character kind of overshadows the performance there. And I think that brings everything into question.
Well, kind of jumping into that point too. So in terms of Frost's big reveal, in the midst of the battle, it much like the arc in general, it wasn't what I expected, but I didn't dislike it. I feel like the way that they kind of went about the whole thing and like the setup of having the threefold strike of Piccolo, Goku, and Vegeta was actually kind of cool. It was sort of a clever use of how they went through that and everything, and the fact that it was like in essence it was almost like, oh, this is the thing that interrupts the tournament, but the tournament was still able to carry on. Unlike previous stuff like with the Majin Buu thing and everything, we're just okay, that's the end, and we're just leaving behind.
Yeah, they never get back to it there.
Mr. Satan and 18 and Trunks and Goten to finish the rest of that, quote unquote. With the whole Frost thing, like I felt bad because at first with like, oh, okay, it kind of sucked that Boo didn't get to do anything, obviously. Although I loved the joke of why, but it was also like, oh man, I would have liked to see him fight at least somebody in this arc.
Boo versus Vegeta could have been pretty fun.
Yeah, or Botama maybe even. Although that might have lasted 5 seconds. But yeah, Piccolo, I felt kind of bad that he didn't get to do a whole lot in comparison, but his little stint with Frost was still pretty interesting, and then kind of leading up until Vegeta, it was just such a satisfying, because Vegeta didn't get to be the one, obviously, who finished off Frieza in the Resurrection F movie and the adaptation of it in Super.
Right, he deserved it here. He needed it. We all needed it for him, so...
Yeah, and it just being such a I think the TV trope is the curb stomp battle. I'm just like, oh, this is like my fan boners going through the roof of just like how great this is.
Well, real quick, I do want to talk about Piccolo and Vegeta there, because it's what I love Super's been able to do is just have these little one-off moments, and Piccolo's like, I don't stand a chance, do I? No. Well, you can at least maybe like wear them down slightly for me. And the fact that those two are on the same page with each other and still kind of hate each other, but still kind of respect each other. I love that.
Actually, Goku and Piccolo's relationship is one of my favorite things about Super.
Yeah, they're great too.
Yeah, like I like the fact that they understand each other now. Like they are at a full. Yeah. They're basically friends, not just guys who respect each other, who fight with each other. They're like full on. I love that.
Yeah, Goku and Piccolo are where Goku and Vegeta will be at some point.
Yeah. It is funny to see like kind of that particular trio's interaction, kind of like all the stuff with them just kind of like whispering to each other of just like, did you see that? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was weird. Like just even that kind of stuff like that. That's like really like cool to see that like with these characters now. That I think that's like even just a thing that shows like these characters really do sell this new show so much with everything.
There's another part to that. When we get into the Kappa stuff, I want to get into a little bit of that too. But
oh, for sure, yeah.
To speak about Frost real quick, the whole reveal that he was evil, didn't love it, didn't hate it. I thought it was a lot of people were saying like it's just Frieza again. I'm like, well, kind of.
Yeah, but I think that was also the point, and they underscored it really well. They're like, whether it's Universe 7 or Universe 6, Frieza's still Frieza. And I think that's an important point to make. And I feel the same way as you. Or like, I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. Just kind of happened. All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
I liked the kind of evil he was, though. Whereas Frieza ruled over everybody, this guy was underhanded and...
Like, he's more evil because of it.
Kind of. Yeah. Like, he's like, oh, I'm a good guy. I'm the guy who saves everybody in my universe. Oh, but you actually stopped the walls, and then I take all the credit. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I like that. Like, that part about it, I actually really appreciated, because by and large... Frieza was just, flat out evil, I kill everybody who gets in my way. No, this guy this guy's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's the CEO of his own underhanded company that just
He's a slimy 80s businessman, and I love it.
yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
He is
Futurama's gonna
that
keep-
guy.
He's gonna if Futurama is just gonna keep integrating itself into fucking DBZ in this episode.
I will do it at every point I can. Speaking of planetary delivery services,
Well, no, I want to save him for
Talk
last.
about him, don't we?
I want to save him for very
Yeah, we
last because
should.
that'll kind of lead into after the tournament is over. Yeah, for us was cool. I'm also interested to see. I mean, if I feel like they're probably going to end up going with Chris Ayres for the dub at some point. So I'm curious to hear him playing nice guy. Recent dub phrases that we've had, and then going right back into the goodness as per usual again.
I'm secretly pulling for his brother.
I that would be Greg Ayres as Frost would also be kind of
Because he has a very
interesting
similar
too. Yeah.
voice, but he also is a little bit higher. I don't know. I just love the idea of his brother playing him because
I
then
could
at
see
least
that,
you have a connection there.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know we have Scott right here, so if Scott can just like plug his ears and go away for a little bit, but I kind of would like them to cast some Team 4-star equivalents of characters. I think that would be really hysterical.
Yeah. Well, Martin, you better move to Texas if you're listening to this.
That would actually be really funny.
Let's go to Kaba.
Yes.
Okay, so Kaba, I think maybe Scott, I feel like you might have the most.
You sound really
things to
excited,
say
yeah.
about him.
Okay.
Why don't you lead off with him? Go right ahead.
Kaba was a character I really wanted because when we were going to the other universe, I was like, we're gonna get Saiyans. I know we're gonna get Saiyans. How's it gonna happen? And they did it basically the way that I wanted. They're the opposite of what they are in Universe 7. They are good guys, and I was a little worried. Like I saw Topple's design. Wow.
You did it.
Take a shot. Take a shot.
And the first thing that crossed my mind was, okay, he's either monotone and like not like he's monotone and like morally neutral at best, or he's a good guy. And they went flat out like, no, he's not only a good guy, he's a lot like Trunks.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love this because, they're basically, what if Frieza never got a hold of them and somehow they straightened their shit out?
Yeah. That was some of my favorite dialogue where Vegeta's like, yeah, we were really strong, so we kind of conquered everyone. And Kappa's like, yeah, we're really strong. That's why we protect everyone. And to see just that difference there was just perfect writing, I think.
And that was in the manga chapter too. I think that interaction was it? Yeah. It's so perfect because it really makes them both go like, oh, I didn't see it that way.
I never considered that perspective before.
And I like that Vegeta's like, I want to visit sometime. I want to see what that's all about. And God, let that happen. I would kill.
We're gonna. I feel like we are totally gonna get that at some point, and so even if it's just like a smaller arc, maybe compared to the other stuff, with the bigger things kind of on the horizon. But I feel like we'll probably get that at some point.
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like they mentioned it too many times for them to do nothing. That would just be cruel to us.
Yeah.
I also found it really funny that they changed the name of the planet. I think that was always planned to be Sadala in the anime.
It's supposed to just straight up salad. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I'm okay with either. I just found that funny. Like, it's Sadala, or no, it's Salada, or no, it's
it's Soba, no, it's Shu, no, it's, I don't know, fuck it. Kappa's, it's interesting because he's kind of the most like a contemporary anime protagonist character, than Dragon Ball has ever really had, since Trunks. Because he is that I'm a like, eager young, like, I'm gonna save the world, everybody, like, what's going on kind of character.
So optimistic, and like his world is crumbling down before him, but he still is looking toward the future and still wants to help everyone, and he just wants to learn. Like, please just teach me.
And that's my favorite part of that fight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was. I loved how Vegeta had it planned out from the very start. Didn't tell anyone, and the fact that everyone was actually a little worried was good. I liked to see that as Kappa was able to change there. He was getting his attacks in, but that instant where he's like, "Never forget how this feels," and it's over. That's it.
Yeah.
That was done. So good, so good.
By the way, real quick before I forget, one part of that, like jumping just a little bit forward, like when he goes Super Saiyan Blue, the look on Hit's face, he looks over to Goku, and Goku's just got this shit-eating
He's
grin.
staring right back at him like,
And he's like, yeah, we could do that. Bring it, motherfucker. Because the entire time you're like, okay, Hit's the guy. Hit's the guy.
Right.
That's gonna be the real fight. And he's just sitting there like, I'm not impressed with any of this. But at that one moment, Goku knows because he sees him look up.
I agree. I love it. Goku was not even looking at the fight anymore. He just wanted to see Hit's reaction. That's why he was there. He's such a cocky asshole. I love Goku.
See, not to downplay the Hit fight, because I do want to talk about that in just a moment, but I think that probably my favorite moment overall, my favorite like single episode overall of the entire tournament was Vegeta versus Kappa.
I agree.
I feel like that fight, just that half-hour experience in and of itself was such a good, strong, like beginning, middle, and end story. I mean, granted, obviously, it is set up before the fight happens for sure, but just that little section of it, of like, he's teaching him the only way that he knows how, by beating the ever-loving shit out of him.
Right.
In a tried and true, like pretty well animated, well directed Dragon Ball Z style traditional fight of two Saiyans. And Kappa having like, a real traditional, like, I'm learning how to transform into a Super Saiyan for the first time kind of moment. Like it's almost like you abridge, everything about what makes DBZ like DBZ in the span of a single episode. And it's a tournament, it's Saiyans fighting each other, a transformation, a heartfelt lesson, and characters like speaking to each other through their fists. It's like it has it all in one episode, and it's like, this is fucking perfect. Like, it's such a good episode onto itself. And I feel like, because Dragon Ball Z is one of those things where, like, having favorite episodes, like, it's kind of difficult because you typically think, so, if you think in like chunks of episodes or like, specific moments or an entire arc.
It's usually serial format. It was like, there are the big ones, like the transformation episodes that are kind of like the keystones of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, having just this episode of like Vegeta versus Kaba, in and of itself, like that, and I don't know, that was like the biggest highlight for me.
I think it was just a good span of episodes, and I think Vegeta got everything we wanted from him, which was fight with strategy, beat Frieza to a pulp in 1 second, and then become the teacher to someone else. Like, Vegeta has reached that point.
Yeah,
him becoming a teacher made my heart swell. I think that is actually my favorite part about all of that, is that we got legitimate character development. I think that was super important, like, that we got, this is Vegeta as a teacher. I was in love.
Not to skip too far ahead, because I mainly wanted to keep on track with this, but I do have to wonder, because it has to do with that point of development. So we do know, confirmed from a recent interview that the kind folks at Kanzenshuu were very kind enough to translate with Takashi Kusao, who is back to playing Future Trunks again in the arc that's about to start. We know that finally my fantasy is coming true, and Future Trunks and Kid Trunks are going to interact with each other.
Oh my god, right?
And Kid Trunks is a completely different character from Future Trunks. I do wonder about if maybe like he's going to be a little inspired, and I will say I would love to see Vegeta training Kappa and Kid Trunks to like be better fighters like together. Like, that would be super cute.
Or what we're gonna see is Vegeta takes more of an interest in Kappa, and Little Trunks is even more scarred than he already is. And like, Daddy won't pay attention to me.
I hope we don't get that, because that would be heart wrenching. Or maybe I do want that because I want to be heart wrenched. Okay, that said, let's talk about Captain Purple Hits. Who, I mean, probably Frost and Kappa, if they had the most like discussion, I think Hit had the most like theories about when he was first revealed. I remember a big thing going around was people thought like, oh, maybe he's like a Namekian, like, disguised in some kind of like weird like suit or something. Like, people didn't, and to be honest, we still don't really know what entirely his deal is, aside from just he's an assassin. He's an incredibly powerful assassin, and he is arguably the strongest character in Universe 6, aside from, technically, Champa and Vada, so, possibly. And even then, that might even be debatable.
Yeah, Champa seemed a little scared there, but more probably just taken off guard. Anyway, I'm not going to
sure.
get into the strength stuff. But
No.
yeah, just going back to the designs, I feel like people weren't giving Toriyama and the crew enough credit. It was like, yeah, we got a free zone. Yeah, we got say in. Am I fitting in yet?
Yes, you're right at home with all of us dub trash. Continue on.
Filthy casuals. Yeah,
You can say sign. I don't give a shit. Whatever.
I feel like people didn't give everyone enough credit here. Like, we already have 2 of the same from that universe. Like, Hit's probably going to be something else. He's not going to be just a Namekian. He's not going to just be someone who absorbs things a la Cell. So I was glad to see that my opinion or my thoughts were validated and vindicated there.
Always a good feeling. Well, with Hit, I think kind of more or less he served as, I guess, more of a development point for Goku. Kind of like how Kaba was a big part of Vegeta's development, but I still feel like he was a full-fledged character. Hit, I feel like Hit didn't quite have like the same level of depth, but what we got to know about him was still pretty intriguing. And the bottom line, which I think was kind of at the forefront of this, is he made for an incredibly interesting and in-depth and worth it fight scene. Scott, I know that you have a lot to say about the actual fight itself when we got up to that point, because you were like losing your shit when that one was happening with how good the animation was and everything.
Oh yeah, some people take issue with is it Nakitate?
Oh, is that the
animator
animation director for that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people take issue with his art style. I think they're crazy. I think they're insane. I love the ultra smooth, like low detail stuff. I think it helps capture the speed, the power, the dynamic camera angle so much better. Yeah, like the moment Goku, just the stuff with Vegeta versus Hit was better animated than 90% of the rest of the show, and had so much more movement. And
did he also work on F? Because I feel like I recognized a little bit of like his style in that too.
He probably did do a couple of cuts from F. I'd be surprised if he didn't. He's one of Toei's golden boys.
But well, yeah, I guess because obviously like Goku wasn't a new character, but we had like the semi kind of sort of like Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken combo flourish, whatever, like purple rainbow all the way thing going on with that. We're pretty okay for what it was. I like that it wasn't like, we're making a big deal out of this as like a new transformation that will be in all the video games and all the fucking, Dragon Ball Heroes cards now available at your local 7-Eleven or whatever. I'm glad that it kind of wasn't treated that way, because like, we don't need another transformation, like another like actual tried and true transformation yet, if at all. And but yeah, I loved the kind of like dissection. It was the kind of the most like nuts and bolts battle in terms of like a DBZ type like non-gimmicky one. Because while the Botamo and Magetta ones were more gimmicky like Dragon Ball type tournament fights, Frost and Kaba and Hit's battles were more kind of traditional DBZ. They still had like the tricks to them. Frost had the poison needle and everything. Kaba's was kind of a solid story in just that one episode. Hit was, because it was at least I think like 4 or 5 episodes that was the whole fight from beginning to end, and with that one it was like really dissecting the fuck, like more so than maybe any other fight even in all of Z, about how exactly they were going about like topping each other and pushing each other to like do better, and like really see like I don't know who's gonna take this one. Like I'm not really sure. Like because we didn't know what was gonna be coming after this either. We had no indication of what the next arc was going to be after this.
Yeah.
So it very well could have been like, oh, like are they gonna lose and is Earth gonna be taken to Universe 6? Like and then is that gonna lead into the next arc or something? Like because I think that was even a thought. Like maybe that would have led to Vegeta visiting Salad, and there would have been some bigger conspiracy with Champa or something. Like we didn't know.
That seemed to be the prevailing theory, is that we would actually lose, and then that would kind of be the starting point for this larger universe arc.
I do love how we ended up winning.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
Which we'll go into that when we go into the Ka.
Yeah. Well, I guess what else is there to say about it? I've been talking for 30 years, you guys, about Hit.
When it comes to Hit, there was one thing that I noticed that I maybe read into a little much, but there's something I really appreciated about that character. He says that he's 1,000 years old, right? The voice they use for him is definitely an older man.
But I think I'm pretty sure he had a very distinct like kind of like how Kaba was the most sort of contemporary like anime character type thing. Hit was very much like that typical kind of like, I am the big like mysterious whatever type archetype of like a lot of current sort of shows. In that sort of way, and comparing him to like Masuko Nozawa, who's so like goofy, cartoony, old school anime on Goku was like kind of an interesting stark contrast.
But continuing along the lines of how old he sounded, I did get this feeling that he was an older man. Like,
He's
whereas
seen
everyone
some
else,
shit, yeah.
where even like Ryo Horikawa's Vegeta, he still sounds older. He's still very much in that like, I'm in the prime of my life. Where Hit definitely sounds like he's this old assassin. Like he's seen some shit. He's been around the block. I mean, he's the Japanese voice for Wolverine in some things, and I loved that texture. I loved that idea because you don't get these grizzled old guys in Dragon Ball. And for a moment there, I was like, hey, that's really cool. They could have just made him like kind of a pretty boy assassin, and no, they kind of went like this. Again, withered old assassin guy.
I actually don't have a whole lot to say about Hit because I feel like this was kind of the expected, like you were saying, this was just a straight up DBZ fight. And you said there wasn't a gimmick to this fight. There's absolutely a gimmick to this fight.
Yeah.
His time skip was the gimmick here. And I was starting to get a little bored of it with, I'm able to increase it. Well, I'm stronger. Well, I'm increasing it. Well, I'm stronger. I kind of needed it to end maybe an episode before it actually did.
I won't lie. I kind of feel like it could have just ended with the Kaioken. And it would have been like, then again, we would have gotten that fantastic ending.
No, I think we still could have had that. I think just the length of the fight, it could have been chopped up and we would lose an episode, but gain a faster pace to it.
Yeah.
I will say a nice trade-off was that moment where Chosetsu Dynamic starts playing as the background music.
It was pretty good. Yep.
Yeah, that was like, because, when you get, and that even is kind of like, because obviously in DBZ, we've had many insert songs during like, really badass moments, of course. But I don't think Dragon Ball's never done that where they have like the theme song as like the insert song or whatever.
Kai did that for the last episode of the Cell arc.
Sure, yeah, and that was like the ending of like what they thought might have been the ending of the show, practically. But yeah, because that's also more of a contemporary anime thing to do that. And it was just as effective. It was really cool when that happened. And then the way that they ended the episode on that way, I was like, oh my God, I actually am excited about what's going to happen next.
If there's any trope that I love is, shit gets real when the theme song starts playing.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, no, that whole fight did have some really interesting stuff. I think the animation really helped pull through the gimmick. Just the whole, Goku's movements when he jumps into that ring the first time. I was like, yes, this is what I love to see from Goku. Just trying his best to feel out his opponent. That's just Goku.
Yeah.
And, I can definitely agree. Should have cut it down. By and large, that fight, I felt like was a great climax to the entire arc. Though, it is a little frustrating for Vegeta fans. Because it's like, yeah, he can't use it very often. But he effectively just found a way of like, yep, if I ever want to, I can just pull out a Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10.
Although the fact that there are like genuine ramifications to that, the fact that
I love that, by the way.
Yeah, the fact that like that Kai is like, maybe don't do that very often, if at all. Probably not a good idea. Like, there's a reason that you temper yourself with these transformations and power-ups and stuff, so
even Goku did say like, this probably isn't gonna work, and I can't believe it actually worked. So that's the out for not abusing it.
Might have very just been like maybe it is just a one-time, like, I'm pulling this out of my ass because I don't know what else I'm gonna do, or else we're gonna lose this, or granted, that said, he was under the impression that, well, even if I lose, it's okay, Monaka will defeat you. Let's talk about Monaka.
Oh yeah. Oh, wait.
Okay, so
real quick, just one more thing about the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, because I felt like it actually it gave an explanation for something, which was nice. Yep, can't use the Super Saiyan with the Kaioken because Super Saiyan's unstable, but Super Saiyan Blue is different, so let's do this shit. I was like, oh, cool, that's good. I think they may have like hinted at that in the Anoyuchi Budokai, but to see it just flatly said like, this is why Super Saiyan has never been used with Kaioken.
Yeah,
good. That's great.
Just about the key control. Yeah,
I was like, thank you. Like, for some of us do get kind of caught up on why doesn't he just use that with that? And it's kind of nice when they like give not only a good reason, but they're like, and here's a workaround.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the Super Kaioken thing during the other world tournament. Oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? So yeah, Monaka. I guess to start off, so let's address the elephant. I mean, obviously we've been going into spoilers for this whole thing, everybody. So you know, but how do we feel about
Nipples?
I know how I feel about the nipples. How do we feel about the reveal of, oh, he actually isn't the strongest guy that fought Beerus, which means that Goku basically is the strongest person in their universe, and Beerus is just trying to get him to not think that.
I think this was my biggest problem. Beerus is saying, all right, it was Monaka's brought along to be like this inspiration to Goku, make him want to try harder. Like, but that's already what you are and what Whis is, and that's already what Goku is as a character anyway. Why do we need to bring him in? Like, I didn't buy it. I still don't buy it.
You had an entire universe. Like, basically all you have to tell Goku is, by the way, there's an entire other universe of fighters. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, that is like a buffet in front of Goku. Of course he's gonna dig in.
Which is why I think we could have used Boo and just had the normal team. But Monaka's been useful since then, so I do appreciate him being along for the rise. Like, I enjoy the character. I don't enjoy what the character represents as a story plot point.
Yeah, and the worst part is, he's a main part of one of the best filler episodes in the entire franchise. Like, that fight against Goku, Beerus wearing the Monaka costume, I was like, this is great.
It was pretty fantastic, yeah.
So yeah, I like the character that Monaka is, even if he's just basically like, they're almost playing
I don't know
like
what I'm doing here.
To a certain extent, he's like an accidental Mr. Satan.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
Well, kind of rewinding a little bit. If I'm remembering right, when Battle of Gods first came out, which was now a couple of years ago, I can't even believe that shit. If I'm remembering right, when Beerus and Goku have that little conversation up in space after like the fight is over, he tells them like, of all the people that I fought against, you were the second strongest. So that was established in that movie.
Except the rest of the scene as that plays out is Goku's like, well, who's the first? And Whis is up there and Whis coughs. Like, that is Whis is number one. But then when we get into Super, Beerus has an entirely different discussion about it, and he cites this period of time since he's fought this person, and Whis is there, and they're not talking to Goku about it. So it's an entirely different context, entirely different conversation. He's clearly referring to someone else, because Whis would be like, yo, that was me.
Well, it's funny because I think for some reason, it's been a while since I've watched Battle of Gods, but I think even back when I saw the movie like a few times, I feel like I even did get the impression that it was somebody different, and Whis was just like kind of fucking around or whatever. Because I mean, obviously Whis is just super, super strong, stronger than Beerus in his own right. But and again, not about like comparing the strength levels or whatever. It's more about, I wonder if like how much of this they were like even thinking about or planning or whatever, like, if at all, because we knew that they wanted to do more beyond Battle of Gods. We didn't know that Super was going to be a thing. We didn't know about Resurrection F. We didn't know about if they had anything about these new characters planned or whatever.
No. We do know they had none of it planned, because we know that as Super began production, they didn't have shit to do.
Fair
so
enough.
It's very clear that as of Battle of Gods, between its initial script by Yusuke Watanabe and then when Toriyama came in, no, they were 100% not thinking about another TV series.
True facts. Well, that said, I guess, see, I'm torn. I'm conflicted on Monaka because, for one thing, I think he's hilarious in that he is just like, I'm a guy, I have great big nipples. And he's just like, whatever. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Kind of thing. Like, in that kind of like, oh, you poor, stupid piece of shit, just like Mr. Satan kind of situation. At the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I wanted more. I don't know if I was expecting more from that. I don't know if it's also like, I'm mildly like, I don't know how I feel about basically Team Universe 7 only being 3 characters, technically.
And Vegeta got to fight 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I'm entertained by him, which I think is probably like the best thing to take away from it at the end of the day. But I'm not sure how I feel about Monaka as a character, like in general. But then I guess kind of like, going off the heels of the tournament, and kind of as we spin off with the discussion about Monaka in general, we had a little bit of filler. After this, as we're kind of leading up now into the trunk stuff, a lot of really cute episodes, a lot of which involved Monaka at the centerpiece. The mascot bobbleheaded one was pretty great. The little baby Pan episode went down as like one of my new favorites.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
You were so mad at me the moment we sat down. He's like, "Hey, did you see the latest episode?" I'm like, "I hated it. I thought it was awful." And he got mad at me, and I said, "It nearly killed me because it was too cute."
I was about to be like, dude, no, what are you talking about? I was like, no, it's like one of my, it was also one of my new favorite episodes of Super, like just how fucking adorable it was.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, I mean, we have this little, like, the superhuman water arc, I guess, if you want to even call it that, 3 or 4 whole episodes of whatever the fuck that was.
Can I just lead in, like, if we're going to talk about that just for a moment, one moment. I find it hilarious that Toei was like, we're going to have an evil version of Vegeta before we have an evil version of Goku.
Yeah, that's true.
We still don't know exactly what Black Goku is yet. Like, we'll see exactly what the details of that shit is.
It's going to be an evil looking Goku voiced by Masuko Nozawa, and I'm going to have a hard time not getting a hard on the entire time because evil Masuko Nozawa is the best.
Yeah, meanwhile, Taka's in a corner going, I fucking told you, I knew it, Scott.
Oh, yeah, no, Taka called that shit. He's like, there's going to be an evil Goku, and I'm like, Toei's not that lazy.
To be fair, Taka thought that was going to be the case with the Universe 6 versus 7 stuff, so he wasn't, like, 100% right, but he was still right enough that he's pointing fingers and laughing all the fucking way to the bank.
So, here, we talked about all these characters. There's this little filler arc-ish kind of thing, whatever, disregard that for now. What I want to talk about with you guys as we head toward the end of our discussion, because I'm guiding it here at this point now that we've been going over for an hour, I'm taking control back.
Good.
Oh yeah, those are my reins. What are you doing with those?
Things like production and writing. We had King Ryu come in charge, uncredited, in charge of this arc. Did you feel that made a difference, and was it a noticeable difference to have some shift in production here?
Yeah, I think so. I think in comparison to the 2 movie adaptations, barring the fun, entertaining little bits of filler in between the Beerus and Golden Frieza's stuff, yeah, this was a very, very nice change of pace. It was like, in terms of story, it was a huge upgrade, I would say.
I think we're honestly going to see the fruits of this change. I think we've already seen, so regardless of how the first half of that tournament arc went, there were some changes in the tone and at least the direction of things as that tournament went on. The moment we got out of that tournament, I felt like there was a breath of fresh air in terms of, like, the filler stuff was really the filler stuff was already fun and interesting. I felt like it was at a new level after we got out of that tournament. And even with how, like, unanticipated and unenthralling, like, the latest one was, there were still a lot of interesting parts to it that, all in all, made it a completely digestible, like, story. But with the preview that we're getting for the next arc, I think that's really where we're going to see King Ryu, like, actually have a huge hand in how things are.
I agree. Yeah. How did you feel about it, Mike?
I think it was noticeable the instant this arc began. There was just something about the way things were being written, composed, and structured that, everyone's taking it seriously all of a sudden, whether that was incidental or because of the flack things had been receiving for so many months there. It was noticeable and it was appreciated. I think this arc was vastly different from the 2 adaptation arcs that came before it. And I think it was very important for that to happen. And I think it's a detriment to the series to have those 2 arcs be the introduction to how it changed after that. And I think that's going to be a tough sell for the international market there. Yeah,
it's a shame because, I mean, like, I've gotten newer friends into Dragon Ball thanks to showing them Kai. That's been my kind of like new. I've talked about that extensively on the podcast before. Where like that's been my like gateway of getting like people who either didn't like DBZ growing up or didn't watch it at all to get into it, and they've gotten very much into it. But I'll be totally honest. Once whatever fucking century from now we get those Kai Boo episodes over here, hopefully this year. I'm crossing my fingers. When that's done, and I want to get them further into it. I mean, I'll be honest. My instinct is like, watch Battle of Gods, watch Resurrection F, and then we'll start a Dragon Ball Super episode, whatever, maybe show the filler episodes in between, but like really basically starting Super at this arc. And I kind of hate to say that, but I mean, that's my genuine kind of opinion of like, you know what, there were some extra little flourishes and little differences about the movie adaptation, arcs that especially were kind of cool and everything. Yeah, but overall, honestly, I would still be like, just watch the movies. Like they're more digestible, more overall enjoyable kind of rides compared to the show.
As imperfect as Resurrection F was, and the additions to the F arc that I actually really liked, Tagama. Yeah. I was like, oh cool. Like Tagama's more of a character. Yeah. Oh, balls dropped on every side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and I don't want to go too much into that.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're, as I think, Mike, you've said this also extensively in the podcast. Like, as people who enjoy the shit out of this franchise, we are allowed to not like everything about it at times. It happens. It's whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think all three of us have said enough things that we really enjoyed about this arc in particular.
And I'm happy to, because I was actually a little hesitant about this, because Super, you've probably seen, Mike, I've had a lot of issues with Super. It's not that I don't realize that the original series were flawed. I just want them to evolve and get better. But I'm really glad we had this, because I like saying really good things that I like about Dragon Ball. And I'm glad there were so many things that I liked about this arc.
About new Dragon Ball stuff,
about new, to boot. Because I love Battle of Gods, and I enjoyed Resurrection F. So, when I see those arcs redone, and then I find myself at such odds.
Well, here's a question too, because this was a thing kind of going around for a while. Do you think that this could have been, or would you have wanted to see this arc as a movie, like after Resurrection F, or do you think that this particular story kind of served its purpose better as
much better as
a series
of show?
Yeah,
as a series.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, I don't think you do this into a movie. I think it loses too much. I think you speed up those fights even more. And while I think some of them needed to be sped up, I think a tournament like this is appropriate as a week-to-week kind of show.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, because I saw a lot of people like thinking that, and even I had the thought of like, maybe, but like with the tournament where it's like you have to give a fair amount of time to enough characters. It's like, yeah, I feel like it wouldn't have been like as engaging as a film, but it definitely worked as a series. Yeah, overall, this was a really fun last few months now. Maybe 4 months or so. I think we had this arc going on.
It started in January.
Yeah, very end of January.
Dang.
And yeah, it was a really fun ride. I'm looking, between this, the little bits of filler afterward, and then now the information that we do have about this new Trunks arc coming out. I've been having a really good time with it. I'm looking forward to what it is that we have even more, which I think like when we finished the Resurrection F, adaptation episodes, we were talking about, we're still excited about what's to come. We're looking forward to, what's coming next. And now I think we're all really, really even more so off the heels of how much better this was and how interesting this next arc, may be, just based on a little bit of information that we have about it. Super, I think, is in a much better place with fandom as a whole. I think everybody's much more okay, I'm in for the long haul. Let's do this kind of thing. Any other closing thoughts about this? Anything else you guys want to share about it?
I enjoyed having another tournament arc. I feel like we were overdue for something like this. It gave us a nice introduction to a larger universe out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else is in store for us.
Yeah, and I feel like the last time we had a real tournament arc, you couldn't even say Cell, because I wouldn't. That wasn't really a tournament.
No, definitely not.
No, yeah. Last time we had a tournament was flat out just OG Dragon Ball. So yeah, no, it's really cool to go back to I think Dragon Ball Super has been all about hey, let's let's try and do what GT did and go back to a lot of the old ideas and characters and tone, and sometimes successful, sometimes not. I feel like they were largely successful here, though.
Almost forgot, because we were kind of alluding to this at the beginning, but I do want to give special mention to the universal like giant golden super Shenlong and the Wish Maid in the end, which that was I actually thought that was really cute.
We should touch on that before we wrap up.
I think it really humanized those characters, and I think we needed something like that to show that they are just like everyone else. They just happen to be kind of a dimension beyond in terms of strength, but everyone is still a human being at heart, even if they're a cat god.
a hairless purple cat creature.
I loved how Beerus was translating, like and it's just Japanese backwards. I didn't even know that until someone told me the language he was using. And I love the fact that he's like, I don't know how to translate that. Just say it then. It's like, I love, like, he doesn't know how to translate. I was like, that's such a funny little moment. But, despite the fact that summoning was a thing.
Yeah, it sure was. I'm going to move my piece of cardboard paper across the screen.
Yeah. There have been summonings of monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh! That were better animated than that. But, besides that, I loved that wish, and I'm super glad that was the thing. I'm wondering if there's gonna be fallout from that.
Well, I mean, speaking of fallout, I think let's wrap it up with how the arc actually ended, and that's we have the king of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hey, let's all get together again sometime and amuse me.
This was good, yeah? Let's do it again, yeah?
I am Togepi, literally. And amuse me. Feed me. Yeah, well, I mean, all I'll say about that is I am looking forward to that, but I hope it's a while from now. I hope that that either the Trunks arc is decently long, or we have the Trunks arc and then maybe something else, maybe like with Universe 6 going to to Planet Sadal, and maybe even go to the Universe 6 version of Earth or something and see how that's like. Just a fair amount of time.
Do you think the Trunks stuff will lead into them coming back around to this? Or are they going to be completely distinct, separate arcs, if that is indeed what we go to later on?
I have a feeling that the future Trunks, like the Black Goku stuff that's about to start, is going to be its own thing. I think it's going to be kind of self-contained, more or less, yeah. Like, at best, we might have some stuff with Jocko, because obviously, as they continue to let us know, time travel is a serious universal offense. You can't do that. Maybe at best we'll have some stuff about that. And Toriyama, I think, even said in a recent interview about, like, it's going to be a little all over the place and a little complicated in terms of the time travel shit. Just don't think about it too hard. Just enjoy it for what it is. I think something that. I can't remember. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can accept that. The time travel in DBZ it's multiverse theory, so, like, it is what it is. It's whatever. But yeah, I have a feeling this will probably be like its own self-contained thing, and then when we're done with that, we'll get back to the main stuff, and then but I hope that like the big multi-universe, the 12 universe arc, tournament thing happens like maybe like later this year, or maybe even next year, depending on how long this is going to go.
Yeah,
for.
I hope that's where it goes. I would appreciate a break in between. I don't want to go from a tournament directly into a tournament, and they probably feel the same way, and that's why they wanted to have something in between. I think this is a good buffer in between those.
Awesome.
We didn't talk about the most important part of the arc.
What's that?
When Goku grabbed the King of the Universe's wang.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I love how, like, just like whatever of a character he is from fucking Jocko.
I loved that. I love Jocko and the king of the universe, or like as a galaxy or universe.
Or I think he's king of the galaxy. Yeah.
I just love that they're sitting around like, hey, pass the popcorn. This is great.
Yeah, they just straight up did a dick joke in Dragon Ball. That's pretty good.
I'm it's just again returning to the old.
Sure, it's return to form.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I didn't even mention like the other Supreme, the Kaioshin, from the other universe, and then just like, yeah, we're here too. It's just like, oh man, it's just like the fucking who's who of like deities that barely matter in the face of the gods of destruction.
By the way, I do absolutely adore the continuing of Toriyama's trend of all the gods are just bizarre and not at all godly.
No, they're just people. They're just like, yeah, we look over things, I guess, whatever.
There is a part of me that is praying that Zeno-sama is in fact the top. Like I feel like okay, you literally called them the Omni King. Let it be.
I hope that this is entirely me, and I don't care if they don't do this, but I kind of hope that like, because obviously we have like, you know, dub versions of these characters' names who aren't like, they don't have names, they're titles. I hope Zeno is the Every King because I love that. It'll probably be the Omni King because that seems to be, like,
every
the
king is
generally
cute.
accepted.
I like that, but yeah, it'll probably end
I know Omni King is probably more
just
accurate.
in terms of those titles there, we have to give credit to Jake Herms. He is the one who coined Omni King, and everyone who's just taken it and gone with it as is.
Absolutely.
Slapped it on every wiki. Yeah, thank you for that, Jake. I appreciate it.
If we're going to have King Kai and Supreme Kai, for bad consistency, they kind of have to go with King Zen. Just like
King
not
Zen.
not translate half the title like they did for the others. So
Well, they have gotten. I mean, obviously we've had changes since then, and things have been a little bit better. So maybe it'll be a little bit more accurate by the time we get up to that point.
Oh,
because they do still go with like the full title for Beerus is like God of Destruction Beerus. You know, in like video games and things. So they do keep to that. So who knows? Maybe we'll have Every King, Omni King, or King Zen. I would, if you know what?
No, just call
Mike,
him
if
King
you end up
Zeno.
being right about
Just
that,
wait.
I'm gonna. Well, I guess that's it. So yeah, this is going up a couple days after the first episode of the Trump
right. So who cares anymore? Thanks.
Aired. Yeah. So you're all moved on by this point, but. I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and I guess, you know, we'll be back in however long to, you know, talk about this again. Scott, I know, you know, because obviously you're a big
I've
Trunks
got
fan.
things to say.
Also, you know what? I want to give special mention. I didn't think that Mary would be basically back in the game by this point with the Temple of Trunks, you know, returning again. Do you want to give any mention to her and like the Twitter and everything? And like, obviously she's back on the podcast again to talk about the arc.
I guess so. Yeah. My wife, Mary, she started her website actually slightly before me. We both started in 98. She actually may have started in 97.
Did she have a website?
You may have heard of it. It was one Temple Trunks.
Yes.
She doesn't want to like be super involved, but it's really exciting to have Trunks back. So she's like, I'm gonna take photos and I'm just gonna, you know, toss comments out there, and people really seem glad to kind of have her back in the game a little bit there and tossing out her old jaded perspectives as well. So yep.
And yet she is also adorably entertaining. So I'm very happy to see her back to doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I married her, so she's got to have something going for her.
Yeah. I mean, I think I picked a good one.
Oh my God, how many people have made the joke you married her?
I've never heard that before, actually.
Never ever in all of existence.
No, I'm serious. I've never heard that.
Oh my God.
You married her? Wow. I always think that in my head whenever I'm hearing you guys in the podcast. So I guess I'm glad that I never went there. So good job, Scott. You're a piece of shit.
Sorry. I accept the title.
Good job. You're a piece of shit. Wow, you're a
piece of
great
shit.
friend, Chris.
This is how we talk to each other.
I
And on
know.
that
No, hold on. Because I remember one of the last times we were having this conversation, people were commenting down in the comments in Chris's video, like, you guys are really mean, and Mike's really mean to Scott. Like, no, like, it's cool. We're all cool. Don't worry about it.
No, this is our way of displaying affection, is that we're awful people and we insult the shit out of each
Why are
other.
you so mean to me, Mike? Is it because I say Saiyan? I'm sorry.
Maiku Senpai, I think on that beautiful, warm-hearted note, we're gonna wrap this up. So, real quick, Scott, obviously Twitter, team4star.com, all the usual stuff, right? Anything in particular you want to plug or anything?
Yeah, it's team4star.com. Our channel is Team4Star. Follow me on Twitter if you want at Kaiser Neko, or Team4Star at Team4Star. We also have a gaming channel if you want to check that out. It's TFS2 Saiyans. So.
And also, we'll be seeing all of you guys, or at least you, Lanny, and Taka at Anime Expo on 4th of July weekend.
Wait. You said all... Wait, Mike, are you going to be there?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting right here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just the phrasing of that. Yeah, I will be at Anime Expo with Taka and Lanny. I'm only going to be there Friday and like part of Saturday, but you know, I'll be there for a little.
I get to tuck Scott's butt finally after all these centuries of not seeing him in person.
Nothing wrong with a little casual butt touching between friends.
It's not casual. Let's be honest here. Mike, Kanzenshu, and the podcast. Anything else per the usual? Is that all?
Yeah.
As normal?
My butt will be over here alone. Kanzenshu. KANZENSHUU. That's a website. Myself, Julian, Jake, and Heath. Podcast. Kanzenshu. Kanzenshu, Vegito EX. That's me.
Yes, do it all. Absolutely. Yeah, and me, I mean, the usual. You're listening to this probably. If you're not listening to this on the podcast itself, as Mike put it on the feed, you know, you're listening to here, so you're already here, but whatever. Anyway, in the comments, Barrow, share your thoughts about all of the new additions to the Dragon Ball universe, including the new universe as and all of its inhabitants. What did you think of this arc overall? Were there things that you would have liked to see, and more? Did it satisfy? Are you looking forward to the stuff upcoming? Any theories you have about the Trunks stuff? All the usual shit. Let us know your thoughts and hopes and dreams and aspirations. I've completely ganked that from you, Mike,
cool.
by the way. So thank you. And yeah, and honestly, if you have future Kirblog topics, Dragon Ball related or otherwise, leave a comment about that too, or hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Go check out Dragon Ball Z Abridged on Team 4 Stars, everything on their Every King. Go listen to the Kanzenshu podcast. They're doing more episodes about other general topics aside from just the latest news and getting back to talking about all things.
I talked about music last episode.
Yes, it was wonderful. They went over Romantic Ageruyo a lot, and it was adorable.
Oh, I need to listen to that one.
It's a good one. It's good. It's still for years and years. It has kept me company while I'm fucking animating and killing myself drawing shit. So thank you for that, Mike, and everybody on the site. That's it. So that's it for Mike. That's it for Scott. That's it for me. I'm still ripping off Mike's entire state of being on a podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.